Hey everybody, and welcome to Robin's House. Today, one of the techniques we're using in the Smitten projects is sponging. So in one of our layouts in a lot of our cards, we just use it to add a little bit of color behind our images or our messages. So I just wanted to go over some of the techniques with you about that. So first of all, in order to sponge, you need an ink. So we're using raspberry and lemonade in the Smitten projects, and you need a sponge. So what I have done is I prefer to cut my sponge into fourths. And then since I don't like cleaning my sponges, I name them so that I use the same sponge for lemonade every time I need lemonade, and I use the raspberry one every time I need raspberry. So that makes it so much easier, and you can just grab and go. So for the scrapbooking projects, we use the lemonade, and we also use lemonade a little bit in the card making. So when we're sponging, we just kind of, just like when we're inking, we bop, bop, bop. And then we're just providing a little pop of color. And so if you want barely there, or if you want to keep going, but I very much like starting small and adding, because it's really easy to add color. It's really, really hard to take it away. So there's that. And I also prefer to sponge first and then stamp on top of it after it's dry. I don't know that there's a difference, but I believe that the black ink is darker when it sits on top of the yellow rather than when the yellow has an opportunity to dull itself. So I prefer to stamp after I've put the color down. And then in the card projects, we use the raspberry, and I was kind of surprised. When you sponge raspberry, it almost looks flamingo. I thought it would be much too dark, but in the end, it isn't. So that was a surprise. But while we're talking about sponging, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sponging the edges. So we do that sometimes. So I do it exactly the same way. I pick up my project in my hand instead of leaving it on the table. And then I, again, bop, bop, bop with my sponge. And then I just brush the edge of the paper. So it's obviously, you can see there, sponged. And then depending on how you can start further into your paper, and that way your sponging goes deeper than here. You can also go over it again and create a darker line. So this one is deeper and darker, and then this one is just nice and subtle. So I'm also not a proponent of sponging with colors unless it's a very, very specific project. Sponging the edges, it looks so much nicer when you use a brown or a gray. And then that's evocative of shadows or light, whereas this is just, why would there be, anyway. Some people really, really like to sponge in colors, but I find it distracting. So I like the muted, neutral tone of sponging the edges. So there is your sponging techniques for today for Smitten. So I hope that helps, and happy crafting.